Quick thing before we start the video, just wanted to say thanks to everyone that watched the Friends Safari video and even subscribed. Very happy that the video got some traction. I might revisit the topic soon with an alternative and somewhat easier way of doing things. Also, some big videos are coming, all of which have a lot of time put into them, so if you wanna check them out whenever they're uploaded, please subscribe. And now, time to watch me gamble my livelihood away. As you might know, I'm a shiny hunter, and those of you who follow me on Twitter will have seen a good chunk of crazy shiny hunts that I've done over the years, like the 3-segment Dadanspars, which I made a video about last year, or Mousehold Family of 3, which I maybe make a full video eventually about. But this hunt is less straight insanity and more easy if you compare to other hunts in Generation 3 and 4. But when it comes to the setup, this hunt may have been one of the more tedious ones. I'm of course talking about the Heart Gold Soul Silver Game Corner Shiny Porygon, a hunt that a few people have done over the years, but not a lot. So I thought it would be a good opportunity of hunting one of these, because you can see up to 5 Pokemon at a time. What I didn't know was the amount of work that went into the setup, only because of one little issue. A minigame. Unlike the Japanese versions of Heart Gold and Soul Silver that still got the slot machines, the West got a partially skill and luck-based minigame called Voltorb Flip. And you would think that it being partially skill-based is good, since you can easily rack up a lot of money. And yes, that might be true, however, the luck aspect is really coming through once you have a couple wins under your belt. At some point, literally being a coin flip whether tile 1 or tile 2 is the right one, and if you lose before calling it quits, you lose everything that you've earned on that level. Now, you're probably wondering why I'm even playing the minigame to begin with. Can't you just buy the coins from an NPC? Well, it might have been possible in every game corner before Heart Gold and Soul Silver, however, in Heart Gold and Soul Silver the only way you can obtain coins is by playing Voltorb Flip, a game seemingly loved and hated by many, me included. Let me give you a quick introduction into the ground rules. You have a square made out of 5x5 tiles. Each of these has a row with the corresponding color: red, green, yellow, blue and purple. At the end of these rows you can find a sort of information block that has the same color as the row. This block tells you how many Voltorbs there are in that row, as well as the checksum of the multipliers. These multipliers are 1x, 2x, 3x and Voltorb, or 0x. Your goal is to find all 2 and 3 times multipliers. Once you did, you win. You get the amount of money made from the multipliers, which can be seen on the top screen, as well as gain access to a harder level. These levels go from level 1 to 8. Level 1 pays out very minimally, while level 8 can pay out 2 or even 3,000 coins at once. Now, to show you how to play it in action. So this is me live recording my, general showcase of how to play this game somewhat properly. So, basically, the way I usually start, now this is level 1 so it's fairly easy, I look towards the end of the rows at the informational block where it says how many Voltorbs there are, and I usually look if I see a 0 anywhere. For example, hit the green row on the right side, there's no Voltorbs. So I usually just flip these tiles. I mean, you don't have to, but it's just easier to, visualize, and continue looking down each row. So on the right side there is nothing immediately, and now we look at the bottom and we see that there's another one with a 0, so we flip all these corresponding tiles too. The next step that is very important is seeing if you can cross out any other rows immediately. Since we have 5 tiles in total per row, the total of values split across the Voltorbs and the multipliers have to be greater than 5. Otherwise the row is completely useless to us. So in this case, we can see that the red on the right hand side has a total value of 5. So that means we have 3 1s somewhere here and 2 Voltorbs. So essentially the entire row is useless to us because we only look for 2 and 3 times multipliers. So what I usually do is I go on the notes and just mark all of them as a Voltorb. It's just to visualize yourself that, okay, that one is useless to me. I do this with every row and see if I find anything else. In this case, we see another one at the bottom, the purple one. We see it has a multiplier value of 4 and 1 Voltorb. So again, the total is 5, completely useless to us. So we can also mark these as useless. And we also see the same thing with green, also from the bottom to the top. So that's basically every single space that we were either able to flip already or could deduct that they're completely useless to us. All we're missing are these 6 spaces. And the way I would usually go about it is check if the multipliers influence the total checksum value of the multipliers at the end of the row in some meaningful way. So for example, in this case it's a 3. So since we have a 3 already and the total checksum value of the multipliers is 6, this space is already completely useless to us. And additionally, since we also have a 2 in the yellow row, that means we have 5 and then also 2 other spaces that have to be a 1 since we only have 1 Voltorb. So we reach the value of 7, so this row is completely useless to us too. What's interesting is that we still have 2 spaces. However, it can't be a 3 times multiplier because we still need a 2 for the purple row and also another 2 for the yellow. So these 2 spaces are free. Now that was level 1 and I might have explained it a bit weird, but whatever. So now we're on level 2 and we do the same thing again. And yeah, that's it. Now we also see that we have a 3, and since the value is 6 and 1, so that row is also useless to us now. So we are once again at a place where we have 6 different tiles that we can flip. That's just this one, okay, another 3, so useless. And another 3, so that's useless, as well as this one, so the last space had to be this one. Now you're probably thinking this is pretty easy, but keep in mind, we're on level 2, and the levels get exponentially harder. It's insane how quickly they go crazy. Another very important thing that I forgot to mention is the fact that once you lose, you can get demoted from your current level. And that solely depends on how many tiles you have flipped in the round prior to losing. Meaning, if you are on level 5, you have to have at least 5 tiles flipped to stay on that level. Anything below that will demote you to the corresponding level. So if you see a 0 Voltorb row in one of the higher levels, even if it's an empty row technically, so one that's completely useless to you and otherwise, flip the tiles, it might save you from losing all your progress. Anyway, now that we've talked about the intricacies of Voltorb flip, it is time that we come to the shiny Porygon part of the video. This journey starts on June 12th, 2022. This was a month before I found my shiny Arceus, and almost 3 months before I posted my first video. To put things into perspective, I had already collected the required 50,000 coins over the previous 2 weeks, and it sure was a grind. Now that I had everything set up, I began hunting. Sadly, I lost all the related footage from that time, so that's a bummer, but regardless of that, after 2 days of somewhat brief sessions, I reached 500 seen Porygon, and that's where this hunt would sit for quite a long time. Around that time I began hunting a lot of different Pokemon, like Arceus or the Regis, which I haven't gotten a single one of to this day, but I swear, one day I'll get them. I mostly played Legends Arceus and Shield during this time, just waiting for the new Pokemon generation to roll around. And once it did, I didn't really play anything else for a few months. By this point we are already well into 2023 and I haven't touched a Porygon hunt since. Even though I didn't hunt Porygon, I still used my Hot Gold copy fairly frequently for a whole different project that might involve a doohickey that was included with the game, but that's for another day. By this time it was already April of 2023 and the Porygon progress non-existent, but on my grandmother's birthday I decided to start hunting again, even if it was off screen. While we were outside enjoying the evening, I was also resetting for Porygon again. I probably did around 200 checks that day and that was it. But it was the beginning of me doing this hunt every once in a while when I was out and about, and so slowly but surely the encounters or seen Pokemon grew and grew. Pretty quickly I reached 1000 Porygon seen and then 2000 a few months later. Every time I was hunting the Porygon I always have checked at least a few hundred. On a few occasions I decided to hunt it properly for a day, usually resulting in another 500 to 800 checks. This continued well into 2024, until once again April. I had maybe hunted the Porygon twice this year, but things would change on April 18th. 2024, where for the first time since the start of this hunt, nearly 2 years ago, I decided to continue hunting it the next day. While not a lot of progress was made on the 18th, the same cannot be said on the 19th, where I would have a 6-hour hunting session, the biggest the hunt had seen since the start. During this session I was also joined by my good friend Robin, who also has hunted plenty of different Mon over the years. Funnily enough, he's the reason why I even fell back into the Pokemon hole after having stopped playing the games in Gen 6, but that's a story for another day. While I was streaming to him my, at the time, fruitless attempts of making it big by gambling, we slowly started to lose our minds and we were betting increasingly absurd things if the Shiny didn't appear during this reset. Wenn ich in diesem Reset jetzt keinen Shiny krieg, dann muss ich meine eigene PMC aufmachen.
Bro, thank you, big boss.
But ultimately I did not hit the jackpot during the call. but something told me that the Porygon was on the horizon. The very next day I was at my grandmother's house. She asked me if I could mow her lawn since it had grown quite a bit over the last few weeks. Just a little bit over an hour later I had to stop since it started raining, so I figured I might as well get some Porygon encounters in since I brought 2 of my 3DS consoles, but no phone or camera, which becomes very important later because an hour or two after starting, the moment I had been waiting for almost 2 years had come.
So, something crazy happened today. So, I didn't have my camera or my phone with me or anything. Basically, I was at my grandma's place and I was just doing resets for my Porygon that I've been hunting for like 2 years now in the game corner. Look at this guy. He's real.
The shiny game corner Porygon had appeared. To say that I was ecstatic is an understatement. I popped off pretty hard, to the point that my grandmother heard it down the hallway and asked if something had happened, to which I just showed her my Porygon. But if you remember, I didn't bring my phone or camera with me, literally the only time where it would have mattered, so I had to wait until I was home to properly show it off. A wise scholar once said, "One constant in life is that shiny Pokemon always appear at the funniest or most inconvenient of times." Do you want to know who the scholar was? Shigeru Omori, the director of many of the Pokemon titles. And with that, we finally reached the end of my gambling adventures. But who knows? I might be working on a different project already that may or may not involve more gambling, but only time will tell. Thank you so much for watching if you stuck around this long, and if you're new here, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to try to upload a bit more frequently, no promises though. Just know that I'm constantly recording new footage for various different projects, so even if I don't post for a while, I'm probably just working on another big video. But yeah, that's it from me. I'll see you guys later.